So from a career journey perspective, I started my career in startups. So during the dot-com boom, which dates me a little bit, really worked in recruiting to start my career, and then moved into HR, sole HR practitioners, working very early in my career with VCs and boards and that sort of thing. And then I moved into the corporate side jobs. I actually was, my first job was an agency job, so I've been a headhunter, so I sort of have that perspective, which is always nice for my colleagues when I work with them. And then I moved into leadership roles in HR. So I was at SunGard for 7 years. Went through an LBO there. We went from a public company to a private company, which was really interesting. So went from 140 startups into 4 segments, 75 ATSs into one. And I did a lot of that transformation work very early in my career. So one of the first users of SuccessFactors before it was bought by SAP, just to sort of look at performance management and goals. And then I moved to EMC. I was the head of HR for RSA, which was their security division. I actually joined RSA right when they were public, but then they went private with EMC, and they were purchased right when I joined. And so I became a part of EMC for 5 years. I did the RSA job, which was about a 1,500 person company. We went from 500 million to $1 billion. So really, getting to $1 billion is very, very hard for a software company. And then I moved over to EMC, and I was the COO of HR. So basically I supported what you call a chief of staff type of job now, but I also was the corporate functions HR leader. I had early days analytics and really thinking about how to marry finance and HR data, which is a problem for many CHROs. And then I also had early days engagement, and some of that work landed EMC finally on some of those Great Place to Work lists. So I did that for 5 years, and then I was recruited away by the head of HR at SunGard, became the head of HR at Cisco, and she recruited me to come and actually go back to my roots and go back to a talent role. So I actually ran TA at Cisco for 5 years. I also ran inclusion and diversity, hired a chief diversity officer, and then sort of moved that off. I rebuilt workforce planning and then moved that off, and so I tend to be someone who comes in to transform and do a lot of change management. And then I ended my time at Cisco doing both TA and also running HR for their services organization, about a $13 billion business, really moving Cisco from hardware to software, managed services, consulting to the cloud. And so that had a really interesting talent brand challenge with it, and so I actually built the talent brand team at Cisco, and they actually moved from 86 to number 4 on the Great Place to Work lists. And then they also got on a lot of the LinkedIn lists, which they had never been on before. And they won 41 awards right before I left. So that team has really changed the face of Cisco and kind of how talent is looking at Cisco. And then I'm from the East Coast, and I wasn't ready to move to California. And so I ended up taking a CHRO role at Metadata, which is the company I'm at now. They're a public company. Again, going back to what I did at RSA, smaller company, about 2,500 people. We're at about 650 million in revenues, and they're at an interesting inflection point, but they do big data and software in life sciences. So it was a really nice opportunity for me to move and take my tech experience and really bring it into pharma and life sciences. They're an incredibly mission-driven company, and they're in that journey to $1 billion. And so they were really looking for a transformative HR leader, and it's been a pretty exciting journey so far. I've been there about a year.